What's going on? Anybody online? No.
Is it?
No, 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 no.
Give it.
Mm-mm. Anybody online? Can we kick off? Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me? Nobody online. Can you hear me?
That last year, I know September, I know the Chacha, November, Ogo and I know almost January.
Can you guys hear me? Can you see me? Can you hear me? Can you see me?
All normal, all is the normal issue. When we are deep for the up your way and silence. All of the phone got the phone, all of the phone got the I'm for the play by the silence.
All right. So, am I clear enough? Am I loud enough?
Okay.
Can you hear me?
No problem.
Can you see me? So, where did you stop in my last class? Where did you stop in my last class? Where did you stop in my last class? Class. Have I introduced the topic, cell and its environment? Have I introduced the topic? Have I? Have I introduced cell and its environment? So what did I say about cell and its environment? Did I really touch it? Have I started teaching it? Have I? Okay, so what we're going to do is normal. We're going to have a recap of what we did last week. Then from there, we will dive into what we're doing this week. We're going to have a recap of what we did last week. Then we'll dive into our topic for this week. So I'm going to be fast about what we did last week. So last week we saw cell function and structure. Cell structure and what? Function. We saw different types of organelles and their function. We saw some organelles that are peculiar to plant cell. We saw some organelles that are peculiar to animal cells. Then we saw organelles that are peculiar to fungal cells. Then we saw organelles also that are similar within all the types of cells we have. All right, so we saw cell membrane, which is present only in animal cell. We saw cell wall, which is present in plant and fungi cell. We saw the ribosome, which is responsible for protein production. Of course, you have the ribosome across all cell types. Then we saw the endoplasmic reticulum. This endoplasmic reticulum, of course, are the transport structures present in cells. We have two types of endoplasmic reticulum. We have the rough endoplasmic reticulum and we have the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. The rough endoplasmic reticulum is rough due to the presence of ribosomes on it, and its function is to transport synthesized protein within the cell. Then we saw the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. The smooth endoplasmic reticulum is smooth due to the absence of ribosomes on it. The smooth endoplasmic reticulum is responsible for the synthesis and transportation of lipids and steroids. We have talked extensively on that. Then we saw the next batch of organelles, which are called membrane-bound organelles. These membrane-bound organelles are organelles that have double layers, and we saw a couple of them. The first membrane-bound organelles we saw is the mitochondria, which is responsible for respiration. And if you follow those through the characteristics of living things, you know what respiration is. So the mitochondria or mitochondrion in singular is responsible for respiration, internal respiration. Some exam questions, you might see respiration, other questions, you might see internal respiration. They all mean the same thing. All right. Now, we saw the second membrane-bound organelle, which is the lysosome. Another name for the lysosome are the suicide bags. Of course, the lysosome is responsible for cell immunity. Their sole function is to destroy, to target and destroy worn-out organelles and invading organisms like your bacteria and virus. The lysosome are called suicide bag because after their function as cell immunity, they themselves are being destroyed. And we say that the lysosome is absent in plant cells. Don't forget, some textbooks have not updated their information. Lysosome is absent in plant cell. You just have lysosomal structures within each organelle in the plant cell. The next membrane-bound organelle we saw is the Golgi apparatus. The Golgi apparatus is responsible for exocytosis. What is exocytosis? The transport of materials out of the cell, right? So the Golgi apparatus is responsible for packaging and transportation of proteins and lipids outside the cell. So the proteins that were made by the ribosome is transported by the endoplasmic reticulum into the Golgi apparatus. Within the Golgi apparatus, these proteins and lipids are packaged in sacs. These sacs are vesicles. These sacs are called vesicles. These sacs are called vesicles, okay? So within the vesicles are the proteins and lipids. Then these vesicles are transported away from the cell or out of the cell by the Golgi apparatus. In plants, it is called a Golgi body. In animal cell, it is called Golgi apparatus. Right. Now, the next organelle we saw is the centrioles. I will say that the centrioles are responsible for the formation of what spindles or microtubules during cell division, be it meiosis or mitosis. The next organelle we saw is exclusive to plant cell. We saw the large central vacuole, and we say that the large central vacuole is filled up with cell sap. And what's the function of the large central vacuole? The large central vacuole is responsible in the regulation of water in and out of the cell. Now, take note. Everybody here, take note. For your exams, the question might not necessarily come out as water regulation. So you have to pay attention to the English. The question must not necessarily come as water regulation. What's another word for what? Water regulation. Another word for what? Water regulation is what? Osmoregulation. So they might use osmoregulation is done by the cell by what structure? Aha. We talk about what? The large central vacuole, which is filled with what? Cell sap. And we saw the nature of cell sap as a complex mixture of salt. And one of the physical characteristics of salt is what? Hydrophilia, water loving. So salt draws in water. Now, what I'm saying now is going to be key in today's lesson. What I'm saying now is going to be key in today's lesson. Salt is hydrophilic. What does it mean for something to be hydrophilic? It means that it has the ability to pull in water. So salt can pull in water. So it means if you put salt on a surface that contains water, salt will have the ability to what? Dehydrate that surface. So salt can be used to dehydrate. Salt can be used to what? Dehydrate. Are you with me? All right. So the cell sap, the large central vacuole which contains cell sap, has the ability to regulate the movement of water in and out of the cell by either increasing or reducing the salt content. When the salt content is increased, what happens? It pulls in water. And when it pulls in water, what happens to the plant cell? Don't forget our last week studies. Now we are joining the dots. When the plant cell pulls in water, what happens? The plant cell swells up, and that is called turgidity. Okay? So when the salt content of the large central vacuole or cell sap is reduced, what happens? The plant loses water and the plant cell shrinks. Are you with me? Okay. So when the concentration of salt is high, water moves into the cell. When the concentration of the salt is low, water moves out of the cell. All right. Now, that is the function of the cell sap, the large central vacuole, which is common only in plant cell. Now, if you are hearing any background noise, it is raining heavily where I am, so you might be hearing disturbance. But I guess my voice is loud enough. Okay, so the next organelle we saw is what? The plastid. The next organelle we saw is what? Plastids. Plastids are colored pigments in plant cell. Plastids are colored pigments in plant cells. And there are three categories of colored pigments. We have the chloroplast, we have the chromoplast, and we have the leucoplast. We have the chloroplast, the chromoplast, and the leucoplast. The chloroplast, from the Greek word chloros, which means pale green. Chloros means pale green. So chloroplast simply means the green colored plastid. Chloroplast is the green colored plastid. Okay. Now it is green due to the presence of a green pigment known as chlorophyll. The green pigment within the chloroplast that makes it green in color is known as what? Chlorophyll. Chlorophyll. The next plastid is the chromoplast. Chromo spelled CHROMO. Chromoplast. Chromoplast. Chromoplast is a plastid that contains every other color apart from green. We have different colors. When we get to algae, this is going to play a key role. We are going to treat algae under taxonomy. So when we get to taxonomy, we are going to see that in details. All right. Then we have the third type of plastid, which is the leucoplast. The leucoplast is colorless. The leucoplast, yes, like roses, different color, not just roses, fruits, different fruits, color of different fruits. whether it's black, orange, red, green, blue. Don't, green is under chloroplast, so don't include green under chromoplast. The third type of plastid we're going to see is the leucoplast. The leucoplast is colorless. The leucoplast is colorless. The leucoplast serves mainly as what? A storage structure. The leucoplast serve mainly as what? A storage structure. We have the leucoplast that stores protein, the leucoplast that stores carbohydrate and starch, and the leucoplast that stores lipids. Alright, and that was where we stopped. Then today's topic we're starting is what? Cell and its environment. Some textbooks may use cell in its environment. No problem, it's still the same thing. What we are trying to find out here is what happens to the cell when it is placed in what? Different environments. What happens to the cell when it is placed in different environments? Before I go into the details of the class, I'm going to give you an illustration first. A form of what? Story, a fake story formulated by me. The story goes thus. There once was a man that stayed in a region where there is snow, where there is ice. He stayed in that region for a very long time, for 30 years of his life. Then something happened. He had to change region. He switched from what? The cold region to what? The hot region. After a while, after a couple of months, the man died. Why did the man die? The man died due to his body was already accustomed to what? Cold weather. So when he was introduced to hot weather, the body could not deal with the change. What happens? The body shuts down. In this case, death. Cell cannot survive in every environment. We have different types of environments in which a cell can survive or not survive. After all check and balances, yes, he didn't adapt quickly, yes, and he died. And that was the end of Solomon Grundy. So, after all checks and balances, biologists came out with what? 3 conditions in which a cell can exist in and be affected. There are 3 conditions or environments in which a cell can be affected by. 3 types of environments. Are we ready? Are we ready? Okay. So I hope you have your pen and paper, your jotters, right? I'm going to be slow and comprehensive as possible. Allow me to finish my statement first before you ask your question. If not, I will get distracted and lose my chain of thoughts. With that being said, the first environment or condition in which a cell can exist in is what? The hypertonic environment. Hypertonic environment. Some biology teachers will use hypertonic solution. I prefer to use hypertonic environment. You get why? So write hyper, Hyper, hypertonic environment. I'm spelling it so that you will not confuse it. Just in case your biology teacher should use solution in school, it's still correct. So hypertonic environment stroke solution, can you see that? Hypertonic environment stroke solution. So that is what I'm going to write. Now, what is a hypertonic environment? A hypertonic environment is an extreme environment. What do I mean by extreme? Let me explain. How many of you can survive for 10 minutes in a deep freezer? How many of you here has done mojimo and your hiding place was the deep freezer in your house? So you see, you cannot survive for 10 minutes in the deep freezer. You cannot survive for 10 minutes in the deep freezer because of what? The freezer is an extreme environment. Okay, how many of you here can survive in an oven for 5 minutes? How many of you here can survive in an oven for 5 minutes? And let's say the temperature of the oven is 500 degrees Celsius. Before 30 minutes, they'll start perceiving the smell of suya. Can you see? So you cannot survive in freezer, neither can you survive in what? An oven. You cannot survive in the freezer, neither can you survive what? In an oven. So these environments are what? Extreme environments. These are extreme environments. And this environment, in terms of what we are doing today, can be regarded as what? A hypertonic environment. So right. A hypertonic environment is an environment or solution that is more concentrated than the cell's environment. Let me rephrase so that it will be easier. Listen, don't write yet. Listen, so that when we define it, it becomes clearer. Listen, don't write. Don't write. Listen. A cell can exist in different environments, right? Now, when a cell is placed in a particular environment, the cell has its own content, its own internal content. Then the environment in which the cell is existing is what? The external environment. You now, you have your body temperature as 37 degrees Celsius. Your body is having a temperature of 37 degrees Celsius at an average. That is your internal temperature. But when you enter the oven is more than 37 degrees Celsius. So can you see that the temperature of the oven is higher than your body temperature? So the oven becomes what? A hypertonic environment for your body in relative to your body. Are you with me? So when a cell is placed in an environment in which the cell content is less concentrated than the environment it is placed in, meaning that the environment is more concentrated than the cell. It means that that environment is hypertonic. When the environment is more concentrated, the environment is said to be hypertonic. Are you with me? Now, when the cell is placed in that environment, there are things that can happen to the cell depending on which type of cell. Are you with me? So, if an animal cell is placed in a hypertonic solution, if an animal cell is placed in a hypertonic solution, since the solution is more concentrated than the animal cell, what happens? It's not sonic, it's not hypersonic. I'm talking about tonic, not hypersonic. When you're talking about sonic, you're talking about what? You are talking about what? Sound. You're talking about what? Sound. All right. Now, when an animal cell is placed in a hypertonic solution, when an animal cell is placed in a hypertonic solution, the solution is more concentrated than the animal cell, of course. So what happens? The solution will pull water away from the animal cell. The solution will pull water. The environment will make the plant cell lose water. The environment will take the water that is in the plant cell. When a plant cell is placed in a hypertonic solution, the plant cell will lose water and shrink. The plant cell will lose water and shrink. This is known as plasmolysis. This is known as plasmolysis. Let me spell it. So, when the plant cell is placed in a hypertonic solution, when a plant cell is placed in a hypertonic solution, the plant cell will lose water and shrink. This process is known as what? Plasmolysis. The action of the plant cells shrinking in a hypertonic solution is known as what? Plasmolysis for plant cell. Now, when an animal cell is placed in the same solution, when an animal cell is placed in the same solution, when an animal cell is placed in the same solution, the animal cell will shrink and disintegrate. But in this case, it is not called plasmolysis. Rather, it is called crenation. It is called what? Crenation. It is called crenation. So, let me go over it again. Now, I am going to say this and I'm going to say this clearly. When I am teaching, do not interrupt me. Do not interrupt me when I am teaching. You wait till I'm done. You are cutting me short. Wait till I am done. This person that keeps asking question, repeat you wait till I'm done. I know I am going to repeat. Behave yourself. All right. Now, your class is by 7 o'clock and you are coming in late and you are asking me to keep repeating myself when you are coming in late. Where were you when others were around? Your class is by 7. You are supposed to be waiting for me. All right. Now, when you are studying, after reading your book once, You have to go back again. Studying is different from reading. I am reading my book is different from I am studying. So you go back again. So let us retrace and go back. Then you will have a perfect understanding. Like we started, hypertonic solution or environment is what? An extreme environment. It can be hot, it can be cold, it can be salty, it can be sugary. Yes, concentrated sugar is hypertonic. Too much salt, that's why you cannot drink sea water, because sea water is hypertonic. When you drink water from the sea, you will die, because it is what? Hypertonic. It will take away all the water you have in your body, because sea water is what? Salty. It has a high concentration of salt. So extreme environments are termed hypertonic when it comes to cells. Are you with me? So when you hear hypertonic, what should come to your mind is what? Extreme environment or solutions. Solutions that are what? Concentrated, highly concentrated. It can be sugar concentration, it can be salt concentration, it can be acid, it can be basic, but it then that solution is what? Hypertonic. So what happens to a cell when it is placed in this type of solutions or conditions? Are you with me? What happens to the cell when it is placed in what? Highly concentrated solutions. When it's highly concentrated, you know that it is more concentrated than the cell's environment. You see. Now, let me give you other examples that make sense, right? When people dive inside water and they are going deep in water, they use oxygen tank. But they mix the oxygen with what? Other gases. Why? According to your physics teacher, pressure increases with what? Depth. Pressure increases with what? Depth. So the deeper you go, the more the pressure. At a point, you will get to a depth whereby the pressure at that depth is more than your blood pressure. What happens when the pressure at that depth becomes greater than your blood pressure? The pressure will start pulling out blood from your body. You start having nose bleeding under the water. The pressure will pull blood from your body. Because of what? The pressure is higher. So when you put a cell in a highly concentrated solution, what happens? That solution will pull water away from the cell. But depending on the cell, you have what? Different reaction. If it's what? A plant cell, what will occur is what? Plasmolysis. If it's an animal cell, what will occur is what? Crenation. Note that. That is a popular JAMB and WAEC question. All right. So that is the first type of environment, which is what? The hypertonic environment. Don't forget, we are still on what? Cell and its environment. And like I said, some teachers will use cell in its environment. It's still the same thing. Okay? Now, I wanted to ask this question, but it will take our time. I wanted to ask somebody to define environment for me, but let's leave it like that. I gave an assignment last week and only one person did it. And submitted. So if you're asking me a question, I did not do my assignment, don't ask me a question. If you didn't do the assignment, don't ask me any question. Only one person submitted. and I corrected the person. Me and the person, we interacted. I corrected. I told the person how to get better. All right. So if you're not doing the assignment, you are on your own. I hope you know that this is an academy. This is an academy. This is an institution. This is an institution for learning. It's an educational institution. So take it as serious as you are taking your school, because what you have here is what professional teachers. You have professional teachers teaching you. So you take it serious. I don't think that in school, if your teacher should give you assignment, you will not do it. This is an academy and you paid for it. It's an academy. So take it as serious as you are taking your school. The only difference is that I am not there to use blala on you. If I was there, I will use blala. If you are bigger than me, then we will fight. Take your education serious. Okay, with that said, the next type of solution we are going to see. Someone already in the comment is jumping the gun, but don't worry, I'll still explain. The number 2 type of solution stroke environment in which a cell can exist in is the hypotonic. Spelled this way, hypotonic. Hypotonic. Can you see that? So the hypotonic means less in concentration. Hypotonic means what? Less in concentration. Did you see the spelling? Did you see the spelling of hypotonic? Have you seen it? Are you guys seeing the spelling? My device is acting up. Are you guys seeing the spelling of hypotonic? Did you see me spell it? Okay, good. Good. All right. Okay. So when you hear hypo, hypo means what? Less. Hypo means what? Less. Hyper means more. Hypo means less. Okay? So when you hear hypotonic solution, it means a solution that is less in concentration. When a solution is less in concentration, what word do you use? What chemistry word do you use for a solution that is less in concentration? What chemistry word? What's the chemistry word for it? Anybody here? I hope you know that your chemistry teacher is in the background. So what's the chemical word for less in concentration? What is the chemical word for less in concentration? Your chemistry teacher is watching. What is the chemistry word for less in concentration? No. Collins, you're wrong. Hypo is a biological word. I'm talking about the chemical word for less in concentration. Nobody can answer? Or you are using ChatGPT? Wow. Conk, no. Dilute, yes, Brian, you are correct. Brian, you are correct. Dilute. When they say something is less in concentration, we call it what? Dilute. What do you use? How do you dilute a solution? By adding more water. When you add more water, you are diluting a solution. So a dilute solution is a solution that has more water content in it. So a hypotonic solution is a solution that has more water content. Are you with me? It is dilute. A hypotonic solution is a dilute solution. A hypotonic solution is a dilute solution. A hypertonic solution is a what? A hypotonic solution is a dilute solution. So if the solution is dilute, it means that if the solution is dilute, it means that the cell is more concentrated. The environment of the cell is more concentrated than the said solution. And when the concentration of the cell is more concentrated, now instead of the environment pulling water in, it is the cell now that will pull the water in the environment. Are you with me? The cell will pull in water. As the cell is pulling in the water, the cell is becoming an odogu. The cell is becoming an odogu, is pulling in water. Are you with me? Depending on the type of cell, something will happen to it. Depending on the type of cell, something will happen to it. Depending on the type of cell. Like I said, now I'm retracing. The hypotonic solution or environment is an environment or solution that is dilute, meaning that it has more water. It has excess water, too much water. Are you with me? Some of you, your soup is hypo. Your soup is what? Your ogbono soup is like water. Is hypotonic. Your ogbono soup. Don't ever give me a soup that is hypotonic. I like my soup hypertonic, especially egusi. I like my egusi soup hypertonic with some, proteins, That's why I like my soup. But some of you, are used to hypotonic soup. Yes, that is why you don't have sense. All right, let's continue. That was a joke. Anyways, let's continue. Now, when the hypotonic solution is a solution that has excess water. So when the cell is placed in that solution, the cell will drag water from the environment into itself. Now, if it's a plant cell, if it is a plant cell, when it drags in this water, it will swell and become turgid. It becomes turgid due to the presence of what? Cell wall. So the cell wall is very strong. So the plant cell will take in the water and swell and remain like that. And that process is called what? Turgidity for plant cell. That process is called what? Turgidity for plant cell. But for animal cell, it will start taking in water and swell and swell and swell. But the animal cell does not have cell wall. What the animal cell have is what? Cell membrane. So what happens? The animal cell will burst. When the animal cell bursts, that process is known as what? Hydrolysis. That process is known as what? Hydrolysis, spelled like this. Spelled hydrolysis. Okay. Are you with me? This is the reason. Listen to me. Hello. For those people that will read medicine, those people that will read pharmacy, those people that will go for medical laboratory science, those people that will become nurses, This is the reason why you cannot inject water directly in the vein through drip. You cannot put drip water directly in the vein. What you put is what? Normal saline. Because if you put water, the water becomes what? Hypotonic. The water is hypotonic. And if the water is hypotonic, what happens to your blood cells? Your blood cells will start taking in the water. And what happens? Your red blood cell will start to what? Burst inside. Is that making sense? A special type of fluid that is given through the drip is what? Saline. It's called saline. It's a water that has a little bit salt concentration. I will explain that when we get to circulation. Okay, it's called saline. It's not normal water. It is water with a little bit of salt so that it won't be what? Too dilute. Okay. So let me explain again. Hypotonic solution is a solution that is dilute. And what happens to the cell when it's put in these dilute solutions? The cell will absorb water from the solution. If it's a plant cell, it becomes turgid due to the cell wall. If it's an animal cell, it will what? Burst. And it is called what? Hydrolysis. Now, the third and last type of solution. Wow, I'm hungry. The third and last type of solution is known as what? The isotonic solution. Isotonic. Is known as what? Isotonic solution. How many of you here can sleep under hot weather with mosquito? If you know you can sleep under hot weather with mosquito, let me see your hand. Indicate. Let me know the type of vein you chop. If you know you can sleep under hot weather with mosquito, indicate. I want to ask you a question. Okay, nobody. So we agree. We all agree. Bukola Ogun will deal with you. Bukola. I hope you know the meaning of your name. Bukola, none of you here can sleep under hot weather with mosquito unless you have malaria. You know that feeling, suddenly in the night, NEPA take light and the fan stops rotating. Then heat will just enter the room. Then you start hearing two mosquito. You can't sleep. For you to sleep, you need to balance that heat by what? Owning the fan. Then when you on the fan, then you will sleep. Can you see? Then during cold weather, you dare not put on the fan. Who are you? Just January period, you don't even need to put your soup in the freezer. You just leave it outside the window and your soup will be okay for 2 days. You see? It's difficult to sleep under the cold weather with your fan on. What do you do during cold weather? You put on what? Your heater, and you use extra blanket. Then you can sleep. And the sleep is a good sleep. You know that type of sleep, you start by making funny sounds. Yeah, those funny sounds. Yes. That type of sleep. Yeah. So for cold, you have to balance it by using what? Hot things. For hot things, You need to balance it by what? Using what? Cold things. You see, how many of you can drink hot water under hot weather? You cannot. When the weather is hot, you need what? Chilled water. Okay. When the weather is cold, you need what? Hot tea. Hot tea. Can you see? So when you're talking about ISO is talking about what? Balance, balancing the equation. ISO is talking about what? Balanced. When you have equal on both sides. It is neither too hot nor what? Too cold. It is what? Normal. The environment is not concentrated more than the cell, and the cell is not concentrated more than the environment. So you have what? Balanced. You have what? A balanced solution between external and internal. Now, to make it, let's look at it in this broad way. Let's look at it in this broader way. How many of you remember specific heat capacity in physics? You remember specific heat capacity, right? Okay, someone said that they sleep with an AC on when there is cold. No problem. But I'm going to tell you this as a medical professional. You are at risk of having lung cancer and chronic pneumonia. You are at risk of having lung cancer and chronic pneumonia. I hope you know what is inside your AC. I hope you know the type of gas, freon, it produces, right? What's the other word for freon? Go and do your research. Let's continue with what we're talking about. So, heat is a form of energy that is transferred from body to body until equilibrium is what? Achieved. I wanted to introduce that word, equilibrium. Equilibrium is the physics word for what? Balance. Equilibrium is the physics or mathematical word for what? Balance. So when the solution or when the system is in equilibrium, it means that the external environment and the internal environment is the same. Someone is asking me to spell freon. This is it. That's the spelling of freon. That's the gas that your AC uses. And it's a very bad, do your research on it. Then you know that what you are breathing is actually killing you. Okay? If you want oxygen, if you want good supply of oxygen, there are certain plants you should have in your house, especially the snake plant. How many of you know about the snake plant? Once you have the snake plant can stay outdoors or indoors. So if you want good oxygen circulation in your house, you introduce what? Snake plants in your house. When you have snake plants, you have good oxygen circulation and you may not need your AC. Yes, you may not need your AC. In Jos, I think the only place you see AC in Jos is in the banks. Yes, we don't need AC in Jos. You only see AC in the banks or anybody that wants to form that they are rich. They see them with AC. And AC also, let me use this opportunity to say this. If you have anybody that is sickle cell anemic, AC is not good for that person. Sickle cell anemia, People that are sickles, AC is not good for them because of what? The rapid drop in temperature will affect the nature of the red blood cells, giving it will lead the person into the sickle cell anemia crisis. Then you start looking for pentazocine, that's prescription injection. All right, let's continue. So, isotonic solution is a solution that is in equilibrium with the cell that is placed in it. An isotonic solution is a solution that is in equilibrium with the cell placed in it. Yes, Annabelle, I like it. You have done your research already, and you have seen that Freon is a chlorofluorocarbon. Chlorofluorocarbon. Go and check what causes greenhouse effect. What causes greenhouse effect is what? What's the major cause of greenhouse effect? All right. Now, an isotonic solution is a solution that is in equilibrium with the cell that is placed in it. An isotonic solution is a solution that is in equilibrium with the cell placed in it. So the cell and the environment have what? Equal concentration. In this case, what happens to the cell when it's placed in an isotonic solution? Can anybody answer that question? What happens to the cell when it's placed in an isotonic solution? What happens to the cell when it's placed in an isotonic solution? What happens to the cell when it's placed in a hypotonic solution? What happens to the cell when placed in isotonic solution? What happens? Who can answer the question for me? What happens to a cell when placed in a solution that is in equilibrium with it? What happens to that cell? That is when the cell starts obeying the command for reproduction. Go ye into the world and multiply. Yes, it will start growing. It will not stay normal. Hey, Guinea Kokereke, what are you saying? When the cell is placed in an isotonic solution, the cell will multiply. It will start flourishing. It will multiply. It will start reproduction will start. Yes. And the same thing can be applicable to humans. The same thing can be applicable to humans. When you have money, when your financial environment is in equilibrium with your pocket, okay, what happens? You start looking for what? Wife to marry so that you can produce children. Can you see? But when you are not financially capable, if you are not financially capable, you cannot multiply. And when the money is too much, EFCC will come for you. So you see? But when your money is normal, you can marry and multiply. So with that, I've explained what happens to cell in its environment. So let us brush through it again quickly. Cell can exist in different environments. The environment can be what? Acidic, it can be basic, it can be salty, it can be sugary. Are you with me? These are different environments. It can be hot, it can be cold. These are different environments, right? Okay. The cell can exist in this environment. But biologists discovered that there are 3 environments in which the cell can exist in, and it will affect the cell. Number 1 is the extreme environment, be it basic, be it acidic, be it basic, be it acidic, be it salty. So far as the acidity is too much, so far as the alkalinity is too much, so far as the salinity is too much, so far as the sugar concentration is too much, that environment is hypertonic. Whatever it is, be it acid, basic, salt, so far as it is too much, it is what? Hypertonic. And when a cell is placed in this environment, if it's an animal cell, it will undergo what is known as what? Crenation. If it's a plant cell, it will undergo what is known as what? Plasmolysis. Then we have the second type of environment stroke solution, which is what? Hypotonic. This is a solution that is what? Dilute. When a cell is placed in this solution, the cell tends to pull water from the environment. If it's a plant cell, it will not burst. It will pull water, swell, but not burst. This is called turgidity. If it's an animal cell, it will take in water, swell, and burst. This is called hydrolysis. Then the third type of solution or environment is what? The isotonic environment stroke solution. This is an environment stroke solution that is in equilibrium with the cell that is placed in it. So when a cell is placed in such environment, what happens to the cell? So this type of solution is very important when you are culturing a bacteria or a microorganism. Very important for those people that will end up becoming microbiologists. No, now you see the problem when you are researching. Annabel Ogun, those people that are researchers, the researchers we have here, when you are researching, don't use only one source. Use several sources so that you can come up with a working theory or working truth. Okay. Greenhouse effect, according to modern scientists, is the depletion of what? The ozone layer. The depletion of the ozone layer. The ozone layer, according to them, protects us from what? The sun rays. The ozone layer protects us from the sun rays, but these greenhouse gases removes the ozone layer, so the sun rays becomes what? Harsh. And don't forget, the sun ray is known as what? UV light. The sun ray produces what? UV light, which is in the what? Electromagnetic spectrum. Which is what? In the electromagnetic spectrum. And you know when too much UV light comes across your body, you know what it can cause. It can cause what? Skin cancer. It can cause what? Skin cancer. Alright. So that is that for cell and its environment. Any question? It's time for questions, so you can start asking your questions now. Any question? So that we can move into the next topic. Alright. Okay, nobody has any question? Okay. So our next topic, quickly. Next topic. Now, the way I explain this cell and its environment, I don't think there's any explanation that should be better than that. But now, there's a reason why I taught cell and its environment first, because without teaching cell and its environment, you won't understand the next topic. You won't understand the next topic. So quickly, let's look at our next topic. Movement of material in and out of the cell. So that's our next topic. So you write it. Stanley, effect of what? Ask. Effect, is there any effect of what? Stanley, ask your question in full. Ask me your question in full, Stanley, before I start the next topic. Stanley, ask me your question in full before we continue. Okay, Stanley doesn't have any question to ask. So let us proceed. Before the end of our class, at least I may have touched 2 entities in this next topic. So quickly. Then ask your question quickly. Ask your question before I go into. Right. Now hold on. Let me take it. Let me use myself. I'm coming. Okay, Stanley, your question. Stanley, let me start with your question. Stanley, yes. Stanley, the effect of whether plant or animal cell and hallucinogenic, there is no difference so far as the solution is conducive, so far as the solution is isotonic for plant and animal. There's no difference. They will all flourish. They will all flourish. That is why you have um the root of plants. We have plants that stay in what? Hot weather. We have plants that stay in what? Wet conditions or cold regions. Those plants that stay in desert regions are called xerophytes. And what are the characteristics of xerophytes? They have long taproot. The reason that they have long taproot is that the root has to go down into the ground where the solution is isotonic. If not, that plant will die. It's not just about finding water. Hello. Even if they find, plants should find water. Is it every water that is good for plant? What if the water is salty? The plant will die. Because instead of the water going into the plant, the salt water will be taking water away from the plant. So it's not about finding water. Long taproot is not just about finding water, but finding what? Isotonic water. So there is no difference for plant and animal cell when placed in an isotonic solution. All cell flourish in an isotonic solution. Every cell flourishes in an isotonic solution, even cancer cells. That is why when you are treating cancer, you make the environment unfavorable through chemotherapy. Let's go. What's the next question? Ogun, what's your question? Sir, someone is if you enter water, the water will say, yeah. Ogun is physics. Bukola, it is called physics because of what? Pressure increases with depth. Bukola, pressure increases with what? Depth. So already your body, your blood has what? The normal blood pressure. Are you with me? Your blood has its normal blood pressure. But when you go down in the water where the pressure is big, the pressure down there will overcome your blood pressure. And when the pressure has overcome your blood pressure, what happens? There will be backflow of blood. So blood will start coming out of every opening you have in your body, your eyes, your nose, your mouth. Yes, blood will start coming out from there because of what? The pressure is too much that it pulls. Please, is there any Naruto fan here? Is there any Naruto fan here? Do we have any Naruto fan here? Naruto. If you're a Naruto fan here, let me see your hands up. If you have watched Naruto, let me see your hands up. Naruto Shippuden. You have watched Naruto Shippuden, right? Good. Now remember when Naruto was trying to master the Nine Tails. When Naruto was trying to master the Nine Tails, what happens? He had to do a chakra tug of war between his own chakra and that of Nine Tails, right? Why did Naruto win? Because Naruto's chakra has greater pressure than the Nine Tails chakra. So Naruto's chakra pulled the Nine Tails chakra. And that is where you have KCM 1 Naruto. That is how Naruto mastered that cloak mode. Now, when you are in the water, the deeper you go, you are doing tug of war between the water and your blood. The water and your blood is doing tug of war. The deeper you go, the more power the water gains. The higher you go above water, the higher you go, the more power you have against the water pressure. But the lower you go, the more power the water pressure has against you. So the water pressure will pull your blood, your chakra, to pull all your blood away and you die there. Are you with me? So the deeper you go, the more the pressure. The more the pressure, the less control you have over your blood pressure. And what happens? The water pressure will defeat your blood pressure and blood will start leaving your body like Kurama. Who is harassing me? Stop calling your fellow student an idiot. You think I don't know what baka means? All right. You too, baka. Now, any other question? Any other question? Any other question? Ask. Any other question? Ask. Any other question? Ask. Let me clear your doubts before we move in. The famous, I think the famous word is Datebayo. Datebayo. That's the most famous word in Naruto. Datebayo. But please ask your questions. I'm waiting. If there's no question, can we continue with the class? If there's no question, can we continue with the class? All right. So let's continue. Yes, movement of material in. Yes. For yeah. For Rubik's. Uh, there are plants that are meant for such conditions. They have special corticals. Their body is made up of thick corticals that prevent that water loss. Are you with me? Same way a diver will use special gas tanks to dive, to be able to survive underground. Those gas tanks try to equalize the pressure under the water. So some plants have special structures too that prevent that from happening to them. Good observation. Well done. Okay, so let's move to the next. Let's so water. No, water is not isotonic. Water is hypotonic. Seaweed, Annabelle. Now you are thinking. Seaweed, kelp, sajasum. Are you with me? You have heard about sajasum, right? Yes, you are right. Annabelle, well done. Good, good. You're thinking. I like that. Annabelle, yeah, well done. Now there's hope in this class. There's hope. We have hope. Okay. Now, movement of material in and out of the cell. There are 5 ways in which material can enter the cell. There are 5 ways in which material can enter or leave the cell. There are 5 ways in which I'm going to give you 5 ways in which materials can enter and leave the cell, okay? So, number 1, diffusion. Number 1, diffusion. Number 2, osmosis. Number 3, facilitated. Okay. Number 3, let me leave it as active transport. Number 4, endocytosis. Number 5, Exocytosis. Exocytosis. Darasimi, you are wrong. Stop thinking. Know it. Stop thinking and know. Every plant requires water to survive. If it does not require water to survive, then please define photosynthesis for me. I thought photosynthesis is the process whereby green plants create their food using carbon dioxide and water in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll. Silly boy. So these are the 5 things, these are the 5 methods in which material can enter and leave the cell. These are the 5 methods in which material can enter and leave the cell. Number 1, we have diffusion. Number 2, you have osmosis. Number 3, you have active transport. Number 4, you have endocytosis. And number 5, we have what? Exocytosis. The class have started. Stop asking me questions. Now, first, let's look at diffusion. What is diffusion? Who can define diffusion? Who can define diffusion? Someone should define diffusion. Define diffusion. Anybody? Can someone define diffusion for me? What is diffusion? What is diffusion? Anybody? Now, write in your book. Diffusion is the movement. Diffusion is the movement of particles. Diffusion is the movement of particles from a region of high concentration to a region of low concentration. Diffusion is the movement of particles from a region of high concentration to a region of low concentration. The person that said water, you are not correct. People that are saying water, you are not correct. This is how you fail WAEC easily or JAMB. Diffusion is the movement of particles from a region of high concentration to a region of low concentration. The question now becomes, what are particles? What are particles? What are particles? Who can tell me what particles are? What are particles? Yes. Particles are just various states of matter. Okay? Particles are just various states of matter. We have solid particle, we have liquid particle, and we have gaseous. Okay? Particles are just various states of matter. What are the states of matter? Solid, liquid, and what? Gas. Are you with me? So the movement of these particles, either solid, liquid, or gas, the movement of this particle from a region of high concentration to a region of low concentration is known as what? Diffusion. And this is one of the primary ways in which materials enter the cell. Materials enter the cell by what? Diffusion. Now, let me give an example of diffusion. An example of diffusion, everybody do it every day. Example of diffusion is when you fart, F-A-R-T, when you pollute the air. Pollution, air pollution is diffusion, okay? When you pollute the air at the back, it takes time for someone in front to notice. Are you with me? it takes time for someone in front to perceive it, because of what? The gas is moving from a region of high concentration, which is your stomach, to a region of low concentration, which is what? The classroom. Are you with me? Perfume is an example of diffusion also, because of what? The bottle is the concentrate. So when you put it on your body, it will start diffusing in the environment. Okay. Even when you do Nutri-C, you put Nutri-C in water, that is diffusion. After a while, the whole water will change color to orange. That is diffusion. When you pour water in paint to dilute it, that is diffusion. Diffusion is occurring. Okay. When you spray insecticides, for those people that suffer from mosquito, you spray insecticides, that is diffusion. So diffusion is one of the primary ways in which materials enters and leave the cell. Number 2 is osmosis. Now listen. Diffusion can occur both solid, liquid and gas. Now let us look at osmosis. Osmosis is the movement of water molecule. Osmosis is a movement of water molecule. Osmosis Osmosis is the movement of water molecules from a region of low concentration to a region of high concentration. Osmosis is the movement of water molecules, a semi-permeable membrane. Osmosis is the movement of water molecules only. Osmosis occur only in water molecule. When you will hear osmo, what should come to your mind is what? Water. So osmosis is the movement of water molecules from a region of what? Low concentration to a region of what? High concentration through a semi-permeable membrane. And your semi-permeable membrane can be your cell membrane. Are you with me? Yes. So osmosis is one of the ways in which materials, in this case water, can leave and enter the cell. So for osmosis is for water movement only. Osmosis is for water movement only. Are you there? Osmosis is for water movement only. Are you with me? All right. Next is active transport. Active transport. Are you with me? For active transport, active transport has to do with large molecules. Okay? When large molecules tries to enter the cell, large molecules enters the cell not through diffusion. Large molecules enters the cell not through diffusion, not through osmosis, rather through what? Active transport. It's a special type, is a special type of transport, is a special type of what? Movement that involves a carrier molecule. Is a special type of movement that involves what? A carrier molecule. Something must carry it across. Imagine when you want to pass through a door and you need a card to go through that door. You can't just open the door and enter. You need a card, and somebody will check the card, verify the card, then the person will carry you inside. Active transport has to do with what? A carrier molecule. Something has to take that molecule across the cell membrane. It cannot go through diffusion, neither can it go through osmosis. Something will have to carry it across. That thing that is carrying it across is known as the carrier molecule. Are you with me? Something will have to carry it across. Now, let me give you an example. Glucose is a monosaccharide. Glucose is a monosaccharide. That is a simple sugar. Glucose is the unit of carbohydrate. When glucose enters your body, it enters the bloodstream. It's entering the bloodstream because it wants to get to the cells, the body cells. But glucose cannot pass through the body cells. Glucose cannot cross the body cell because glucose is a large molecule. It cannot cross the body cell. Glucose needs a carrier molecule for it to cross. And one of the carrier molecule is what? Your insulin. Your insulin. Without insulin, glucose cannot enter the cell. So when you don't have insulin in your body, it will lead to what? Diabetes, because you are going to have a build-up of glucose in the blood because there is no insulin to carry it inside the cell. Are you with me? So that is what leads to diabetes. So for active transport, something will have to carry it across. In the case of glucose, insulin will have to carry it across. Is that making sense? Is that making sense? That is active transport. Active transport. Now, let me give you an example of active transport in plants. An example of active transport in plants is when mineral salt is entering the plant through the xylem. Mineral salt, the xylem is the structure in plant, is the tissue in plant that is responsible in transporting water and mineral salt. Water enters the xylem through capillarity, but mineral salt can only enter through what? Active transport. This is a JAMB question. The process by which mineral salt enters the plant through the xylem is known as what? Active transport. All right. So I mentioned three things here. In our next class, we are going to see the other two. In our next class, we are going to see the other two. We are going to see endocytosis and exocytosis. If I start endocytosis now, If I talk about endocytosis now, it's going to take our time. So I'm going to stop at active transport. So to round up the class, we started with what cell and its environment. We saw that there are three environments in which the cell can exist in. We have the hypertonic environment, which is extreme environment. We have the hypotonic environment, which is dilute environment. And we have the isotonic environment, which is what? An environment that is in equilibrium. Yes, if you don't have a ticket, you will not enter. Yes, you are correct, Annabelle. Now, we saw movement of materials in and out of the cell. The first we saw is diffusion, which talks about the movement of particle through a region of high concentration to a region of low concentration. Then we saw osmosis, which is the movement of water molecules through a region of what? Low concentration to a region of high concentration through a semi-permeable membrane. Then the last one is the active transport, which requires a carrier molecule for that material to pass through. And with that, we come to the conclusion of today's class. Any question before I dismiss you people? Any question? You will get my assignment immediately. Okay. All right. Arigato gozaimasu. See you guys next time.